Hey, I'm Owen.
Hi, I'm Susanna.
And we are back after a break we took from the last episode.
Yeah, just a quick one.
I put all the clips into Premiere and I was fiddling with them, and I found that even with the most aggressive shortening of time on each of the clips, I couldn't get it down under, I think it came out to like 56 or 58 minutes or something like that.
Wow, it's another hour one.
So do you want to take a guess on how many hours it was that we worked on it real time by the time it was over?
God, 9 hours?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, I think it was just over 9 hours at the time of me doing these statistics that I wrote down, right? Okay. So in being really trying to get the clips to play as fast as possible, when they got that long, it was like, I didn't mind making an episode that was an hour long. Yeah. But I thought it was maybe going to be a more helpful exercise for me to just do a little math, basically. I was compelled to I wanted to write down which parts of the page took the longest amount of time and what parts of each panel took the longest amount of time. Okay. So I just thought it would be kind of interesting to look at with you, and also I wanted to gauge, I mean, obviously you did it, so it's not like it's a trivia question or anything, but I wanted to gauge like what you thought were the longest times compared to what the numbers came out to be, specifically because I'm super interested in learning from that page, right? Yeah. And then also I want to talk a little bit about what we learned from that going into this page. And then also what we can focus on in the future. And I know to some extent, as I just want to preface all of this by saying, I know to some extent it is not, there will come a point where it's not the most valuable exercise to think, how can we save more time? How can we save more time? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, sometimes something in particular will just take us that amount of time. Yeah. And it's not, I don't know if it's like super valuable to be like, how can we push it faster? How can, because I think that's just like, that's going to get stressful if I do it too much. You know what I mean? But
stop having fun at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And if something takes the amount of time it does, there's no need to really bother yourself too much about, well, how can I cut that down? But in the interest of, if there's a little bit of stuff we can learn from it, I think it's going to be kind of interesting to talk about, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, while I was making the previous video, I wrote some statistics down, and this might be a little odd that I'm talking about it on the next page, but I'll have stuff to say about this page too, right? Yeah. So, so I was breaking it down. The sketch on the previous page took an hour. Okay. I think that's about standard.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
Specifically, the base sketch. This is the part of the video that Susanna is working on, the base sketch. The base sketch for the previous page took about an hour, right? Yeah. Okay. So, I know the visual isn't directly on this video. Yeah. But, I might actually pull it up really quick. Panel 1 took 1 hour. Okay. Panel 2 took an hour and a half. Just over an hour and a half. Okay. Panel 3 took another hour. Panel 4, another 2 hours. Okay. Panel 5 was 45 minutes. And panel 6 took 3 hours and 20 minutes. Okay. So, this is, also, I didn't super get too far into it, but, for the most part, backgrounds took maybe less than 10% of the time. Yeah. For each panel.
You know, that's actually extremely standard for me.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah.
Yeah. Backgrounds usually don't take me that much time, especially once I've sketched them, and even less so now that I have a model to work from. Right. Because now I don't have to take that extra step to sit there and try to sketch them out. Right. The inks for the backgrounds are easy just because I can slap them down quickly. Right. That's very interesting, though, the breakdown of that.
So what about this surprised you? Did anything?
Just the amount of time on a couple of those. Sure. Because, 3 hours seems like so much time. Yeah. But as I look at the panels that corresponds to, they are the little more involved angles. Yeah. They are me having to work in thinking of a character from a different angle and having to think in sizing. And they are kind of strange angles. So it's like clothing folds and having the head turned a certain way and having the hair fall a different way. And especially with the last panel taking 3 hours, that's 2 characters sitting down. Which
that's true.
Extremely difficult.
Sitting is always more difficult than just portraying them from the waist up. As you know they're sitting, but you don't have to draw their legs. Liam is also in the act of sitting. He's mid-sitting, which is also difficult in its own way. So I thought that was really interesting. My guess about this when I looked at the numbers was that, one, Milo is reclining in it. I didn't even think about the fact that you're drawing it from a different angle each time, and your brain has to, like... especially with clothing folds, especially with those kind of baggy, bunchy pajamas that we were talking about last time we talked. So that doesn't surprise me. I assumed that it was sort of the reclining. I wondered if it was something about us being back with Milo after some time away from him. I wondered if you felt like that was anything about it. Although I will say that even when Milo isn't on a page, he's usually your go-to when you do warm-up sketches. So maybe in thinking about that, I was like, maybe it's that, but no, I don't think that actually was it.
No, I don't think so. Usually, like you said, he is my go-to when I do a lot of just warm-up sketches. I like to sketch him just for fun. Because he does fit exactly what I like to draw. So I go to him a lot. It doesn't really affect anything that I haven't drawn him in a while, just because usually I've probably sketched him a lot.
So I considered that. So as I was piecing it together, I was like, well, it's really interesting to think about the fact that that in making the background model for this, I can't cut really organic time, right? And again, there will be some things that just take time. Characters reclining, or characters sitting, or changing angles between panels will definitely affect time in a way that I really can't fix. Nor do I think it's essential that I do.
Sometimes that's just the way it is.
And also, if the difference is, you never do a different angle, or, you do less of them, or we never show characters sitting or reclining, I don't think that's necessarily valuable, right? So sometimes it's like, well, if it brings some kind of aesthetic variation to change the camera angle multiple times on a page, then just let it happen, right? If there's something to be gained from having characters sitting, or showing them in the process of sitting, or showing them reclining, then let it happen, right? And as I think about that, it's not necessary, like, it's to hit these points where it's like, let's get these pages done as fast as possible. That's not valuable. You know what I mean? So I'm not super concerned with that. However, there was something that I learned from doing this page that I think is critical that we adjust, going forward, right? So this is in the same vein as you were surprised that the last panel took almost 3.5 hours. And you can see, you did say Liam is in the process of sitting on it, right? Milo is reclining.
It's kind of weird posing.
But let me tell you where the most time was lost.
Where is that?
In redrawing Milo's leg. And let me tell you why. That is something that we absolutely need to fix. And what it is that we need to fix is that we tried to attempt to do the previous page in one sitting. Right. So we hit 9 hours, a little over 9 hours, probably actually closer to 9.5, right? And that's in one sitting. Now, 9 hours of making a page is usually, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12 hours of work, right? Because in there must be wrist breaks. You know what I mean?
Getting up to stretch.
Getting up to get water. Just, various things. But it is 11 to 12 hours in the office, despite being specifically 9.5 hours of your hand moving, physically recording, right? So that's a pretty tiring day. And
I do remember that being like an especially grueling day. kind of lost track of time, but your body feels it even as you lose track of time.
Exactly, for sure. And as we lost track of time, and as we kind of drove ourselves to try to finish it in one sitting, I definitely noticed that our work efficiency really struggled.
Yeah.
It really, it got to the point where you felt inclined to redo huge sections of art, and maybe more than like, I just didn't like this, so I deleted it and started over. It was like, you got tired toward the end of the day. I know I did, but like my process doesn't super change that much, you know what I mean, between when I'm tired or not. But it was, I think that the thing that I identified most about doing the page in one go and how it affected our time spent on it and how we should absolutely, and I know that we've come to this conclusion in the past before too, but I think it's just a helpful reminder. And sometimes having hard facts like numbers in front of you is really helpful to re-drive the point home to ourselves. If you want to save time and you've been working on something to the point of exhaustion, just because you want to get it up as fast as possible, or just because you want to upload it, or just because you want it to have it done as fast as possible, does not mean that you need to do it in one go, or that you need to push past exhaustion to get it done. And we've seen this we are definitely the kind of people who will hold ourselves to, can we please, I just want to get it done, I just want to get it done, I just want to get it done. And we'll get to the point where we'll be up hours past when we had planned to go to bed, let alone plan to stop working. Do you know what I mean? And we'll get to the point of exhaustion and then need to go to bed anyway to be able to be awake enough to put the final touches on the page, or to be awake enough to see the page more clearly and then redo a piece of it to our actual satisfaction, right? And usually in the end, the page goes up at the same time that it would have anyway, maybe with an extra hour or two more than, it needed to be. But just because it was maybe like 10 hours late to go up by our own standards, we considered that like we shouldn't have gone to bed. You know what I mean? Instead of
like, it's an unhealthy mindset.
It really is. And so those couple hours that we saved, I think that we could have saved in the redrawing, or the being tired part. That's, I think, valuable. Maybe not even like from the mindset of let's save time, we gotta save time, but more so from the point of maybe this is a good reminder to be a little healthier about the way that we do these.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So,
sometimes you have to go through and do the facts just to make sure that you do keep on that.
I think this is a lesson we've learned before, just from, oh wow, that felt really bad. Why don't we make it a point to ourselves to go to bed when we're tired, right? But I think it's interesting to me to see, because I don't usually check back and be like, how much time exactly was each panel? You know what I mean? I don't do that. But I did for this one because I was like, 9.5 hours for this page. I'm very surprised. These are not super intensive backgrounds.
I mean, now that you have each part recorded, it's a lot easier to be able to see what the breakdown is. You're not having to actually sit there with a stopwatch and watching me.
Right. And nor am I interested to do that. I'm not super inclined to try to pressure you as much as possible. But for me, I went into this wow, what can be improved? But really, I think at the end of the day, what can be improved is just making better habits, making it a healthier mindset that we approach the page with. I think and I think honestly, when I look back at it, it's had we gone to bed maybe 2 hours earlier in the process, I think we probably could have saved ourselves 2 hours of work on this page. I think that's probably true. However, I think it's more valuable to get the lesson to not overwork and to approach it in a more healthy way than it is to be and then it would have been 2 hours shorter. You know what I mean? That's not, you know what I mean? So I thought that was really interesting. I thought it was really kind of nice to see that breakdown. And I think, so now I held off on showing you these numbers. I had a little post-it note that I wrote all my notes down on. So I had held off on showing you those numbers until we recorded this. But I think we, even still, without having talked about specifically the numbers on that page, I think we went into this one with a little bit already kind of having learned that lesson.
Yeah, I think we learn that lesson each time that we get into that point, because it's just like, I was so exhausted by the end of that page, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, exactly.
And that lasts for however long.
I don't know, like half a year.
Yeah,
we'll make it a point to ourselves, like, listen, if we're tired, we should let ourselves sleep. And then about I would say at least a couple months later, we're back and not really keeping the lesson anymore. But
yeah, and who knows even why we start getting into that mindset.
I think at least for me, work is fun. Yeah, it's kind of addicting, and so it's easy to slide into. Oh, come on, I really just wanted to get this done.
The workaholic mindset.
Yeah, it's like I really want, you're chasing that, like, that fix of having the finished page. You know, it feels good to have the finished page, right? You know that's like a little bit of a boost, right? Yeah. It feels super satisfying. That's what you're chasing, right? And when it's as fun to make as it is, and you're enjoying the process as much as you are, sometimes it can be like, well, maybe just another couple hours. Yeah. Or maybe past the point of health. So I think
maybe I don't need sleep.
Right. I'm tired, but am I like that tired? Would I even be sleeping yet by this point anyway? So.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm most guilty of, is like, well, I'm probably not going to be able to even sleep for another hour or two, even if I'm tired.
I have to wind down, so I might as well spend my wind down time working. Yeah, no, it's awful.
Yeah, and there's also that awful thing where it's just like, for some reason you hit that like spark of like, I really feel like I can keep going, and now I have this like surge of energy at 12 a.m.
You get a second wind, and it's like, that tells me that fate has aligned and says it wants me to keep working on this.
Yeah, like, you know, my brain finally clicked in and said like, wow, we can do everything. We'll get all of this. And it's just like, maybe like 30 minutes into that, your brain's like, nah, I made a mistake.
Wait, I didn't have a second wind. It was just adrenaline for a split second. Please. You heard like a loud noise next door and it gave you a little bit of adrenaline, and you tried to ride that for the next like 4 hours. Why did you do that?
I heard an upbeat song and I got really into it for 2 seconds. And then I went back to a podcast for some reason.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. So, so I think it can get super addicting to like chase that. So I think it does take a reminder every once in a while, like, hey, come on. Yeah. Go to bed. You know what I mean?
For some reason, I'm still human.
I know. Robotic arms, please. I need you.
When do we get those?
I know. Not lack of need to sleep.
Give me the pill that replaces sleep. Yeah. That'd be nice. Yeah. I think it's a caffeine pill.
No, it's not. That's not it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a replacement. That's just like stave it off.
There's a different one. Yeah, one is removes sleep and the other is specifically REM processing and all the stuff that you absolutely please need.
You know, there's an episode in Star Trek about how important it is for you to get the REM sleep, where they just start hallucinating.
The Next Generation, yeah. There's a couple episodes about not getting sleep.
I feel like every sci-fi thing wants to address the can't get sleep.
Yeah, especially when the writers are on a super crunch schedule.
Oh, yeah. Because, like, who doesn't feel that? Yeah. And also, like, especially, I feel like that, like, do robots dream of sheep?
Oh, yeah, do robots dream of electric sheep?
Yeah.
Or something like that? Yeah.
I've never read it. I probably should.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, we went into this one, I think, with a better handle on that. And this one took, I think it was closer to normal. It was about 8 hours. Which, I mean, when I say we got up to 9.5 hours, that, I know it kind of doesn't seem like so much more but like I said, sometimes the panels just do take time, right? Yeah. Especially, you can see the panel you're inking right now.
Yeah, this is a very intense panel. Yeah. I was actually just thinking about that. The third panel ended up being very intense just because interaction.
Two characters interacting, so you really have to nail the ratios of them to each other.
Yeah.
One is reclining.
Yeah. Both are reclining.
Both are sitting, at least, with you see their full legs connected to their hips and everything, and one is in full recline so it's not just his knees that are in a specific position and need folding, but since he's so leaned back, you kind of get it at the...
Yeah, you get the weird clothing folds that come from, like, having to have hips and back.
And then the what's this part? Your mid torso section is like leaned forward slightly too on top of it. Yeah, it's pretty intense. And both of these boys have pretty curly hair right now too. So I know that takes a little extra time to.
I don't mind that part.
No, you like that part.
Yeah, I like the curls.
Fair enough. Do you prefer Liam with the curls? I'm actually curious about that.
You know, it's kind of difficult because I'm so used to drawing him with straight hair that my brain keeps going to it. And you'll notice sometimes when I'm sketching him, I sketch him with the straight hair for a second, and I'm like, right.
Is that right? Curly hair. On the page?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I'm surprised.
I've caught myself doing that a few times, and I've had to, like, undo or, like, just kind of sketch a sloppy curl over top of it. Because
it is him. That's, like, him... it's been mostly, it's like 95% of the time that's him.
Yeah. Most of his life he lives being very straight, flattened hair.
At least every time we see him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. I've never caught that before. I'm going to have to keep an eye out now. That's interesting.
I keep giving myself away. I got away with it. No.
Now I'm going to look.
I don't know.
That's funny, though. I didn't notice that. So, personally, opinion-wise...
Opinion-wise, you know, it's kind of difficult still because I really enjoy his straight hair because of how weird and flippy it is because he straightens it.
Yeah.
It's not like anyone else's straight hair, like
Penny.
Like I think like Penny or like Hubert's.
Yeah.
Their straight hair kind of hangs a little bit heavier.
Right.
Penny's is still a little wavy. She puts a little wave in her hair.
But she doesn't have those like... She doesn't have, like, flips.
Yeah, she definitely does not have the flips and curls and all that.
Yeah.
I will actually say, too, with this chapter, I've been doing new things with the, with my hairstyle. And I don't know if you've noticed it. It's just been kind of subtle.
No.
I've been practicing a lot with, how the hair comes off of the temples.
Okay.
And then I've been practicing with specifically how I draw curls. So adding the extra angles on it and everything.
I guess I have noticed that, actually. Specifically, I've noticed it most with characters that have their hairline showing in its entirety.
Yeah.
Like Eli.
Yeah.
I think Matt, too, has his entire hairline showing. Characters that have short hair, that have they don't have, like, fringe, they don't have bangs. I guess I've noticed that a little subconsciously. I don't know if I've fully been aware of it. So so you pull it more from the temples? Like you're actually...
For a lot of it, I've just been really identifying where from the forehead and then how I'm drawing it, angling up, pulling back, what points I'm pulling it back to.
Okay. What do you call this? Widow's Peak? No, Widow's Peak's in the center.
Yeah, Widow's Peak is in the center. I actually forget right now what that's called.
The corners right next to your
I was thinking temple, but the temple is like...
Temple's like here, lower. Slightly down, yeah.
Yeah, the peak's up here.
I guess the peaks, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been drawing a lot of that, and that's come from me sketching other characters outside of Toy lately.
Oh, like other people's? Like
no.
doing a sketch for a friend, or?
Oh, no, very specifically other character things that, like, we've been working on.
Like doing concept art for other projects, yeah.
Yeah, so in doing concept art, I've been practicing a lot of things, and doing, like, gifts for friends.
Yeah.
Drawing things just in general outside of toy norms.
Sure.
Pushes me to start practicing other things with toys norms.
Sure, yeah.
So I end up finding little things that I enjoy and then bringing it back in.
I love that.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I really liked when we were doing Dock Up at the same time as Toy.
Right.
I was teaching myself a lot of things alongside drawing Toy. When I would go switch to drawing Dock Up, I would actually learn new things that would make me faster.
Right.
And like it was a slightly different style.
Yeah.
So it was a little more fun and animated in some ways.
Yeah, for sure.
And then a little more strict in others.
Yeah.
Whereas I get back to Toy and it's like, oh, obviously like Milo's a little goofy, so I get to have like a little bit of like a fun animated moment with
Sure.
him.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of the fun, quick drawing from that.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then in drawing like sketches of other things outside of toys and orbs, I started practicing things with hair that I hadn't thought of.
Right.
And so I just bring it right back to toy.
It's interesting. I really like that.
Yeah, so it's been kind of nice to take little breaks here and there and draw other things, and that helps me open my style back up.
Right.
And I get a little faster usually. Not so much at that last page, but I guess not sleeping kind of.
No, that's 100% it. That is really genuinely 100% it. That's really interesting to me. So you're torn then.
Yeah.
On these curls.
Yeah, because I do like them. I actually think that he's really cute with his curls.
Sure.
And clearly, I like drawing curls because I made Milo have the curliest.
You definitely put a lot of curly hair characters whenever you do a lot of the design work. They usually ended up with curly hair. Yeah. Yeah,
they're fun. I don't know. Like I think of other characters I've designed. Like Penny is another character I designed. I gave her straight to wavy hair,
right?
Which is a lot of fun for me to draw.
Sure. Yeah.
Try to think of another character. Dylan has the really tight curls.
Yep.
Nora has the kind of wavy curls.
Right.
Milo has the curliest curls.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
He has a little bit of his mom's like straight to wave kind of curls though.
Yeah.
Versus Dylan has much tighter curls.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Liam right now has the kind of in-between, only because his hair got a little wet.
Right, it was straight at one point. Yeah. This isn't even as tight as his curls would be in the, had he just showered and it was like a totally fresh situation. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I actually can't wait to get to draw him with more relaxed curls again. Yeah. Once we get back to like a stage where he would have the more relaxed curls.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it a lot because I prefer him with the curls.
Yeah.
But Liam himself does not prefer his curls. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that there would come a stage where he would kind of grow out of that.
Yeah.
But when I go to do a little design work for the future, let's say, I find it maybe because, like we said, his hair has been straight for so long. I feel as though it kind of defines him a little.
Yeah.
And it's a little difficult for me to see plans for his design that don't incorporate some amount of that same silhouette. Do you know what I mean? In a permanent way, because it's always fun to like go back to the curls. You know what I mean? Like you see him, and some circumstance has kind of taken him out of his comfort zone, and he's like, all right, well, this is how it is for now.
Yeah,
and it's fun because then I come to this point where it's like that is my preference personally for me. Do you know what I mean? That I get to enjoy it, but it is tough to see him in a permanent way without that silhouette that I think we've grown used to.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, actually.
So I've done a little bit of sketching on it, and I always arrive back to something that's a little more in line with, what it usually looks like. And it's like, that's tough. It's tough to...
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense that he would probably keep his own preference, too.
Yeah, it's just, preferences change as you age. But I guess there will always come a point where it's like, I might feel differently about it when I get to that point too. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I might find something that totally fits better. Do you know what I mean? Than what I had expected. But
yeah, I mean that's kind of far in the future too. So at least there is that.
Not that far.
I know. I keep thinking about that too. Like once again, getting back to what we're at the. Page 39?
We're on page 40 now.
Page 40.
Yeah, we just finished we're as of recording this, we're maybe like a third of the way through page 41.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, right?
Only one more chapter.
I know.
Well, technically crazy? An epilogue, but I don't know if that counts.
It'll count. I think it'll be longer than the prologue was.
Yeah.
It's not going to be just 10 pages. So.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll count as its own chapter. Yeah. Just just 2 chapters left.
Oh, that's exciting.
I pondered because I know it's such an arbitrary number. I planned for myself 20 chapters, and I planned I know how chapter 20 is going to run, and I know what the epilogue is going to be. Yeah. But I thought to myself, like, maybe I'd do one more chapter in there. if I wanted to cover, like, one more thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there's value for me in that. I guess I'm still deciding. There's not, like, extra material that I'd put in. It would be whether or not I think there's any value in basically splitting chapter 20 up into being 2 chapters. It's a little bit, maybe even frustrating for me to talk about it and then not clarify, and I apologize for that if that's the case. But specifically, I guess, for me, it's just picking nits and being really arbitrary about what I want to do. But I think it's the difference between having a really long chapter 20 or having a, you know, kind of more in line with what we have been doing lately for chapter lengths. Chapter 20 and then a chapter 21. But I think for me, I don't know. I'm not going to decide now. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to keep tossing it back and forth. But I think for me, it's like if I can justify to myself that the 2 halves of it are different enough thematically to cut them up. Then I'll cut them up, and then there'll be 2 more chapters of the body of Toy, and then the epilogue, and then the full 30. But
and that would make sense too, honestly, because chapter 20 already as it stands runs very long.
It's going to be long. It's going to be a long one, yeah.
But, like, we've had chapters that have run very long.
Yes.
So even breaking it down would probably be fine.
That's actually...
21's a lucky number for me.
Oh, is it? Oh, because it's a multiple of 3.
And it's my birthday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which funny. My birthday is also a multiple of 3.
It sure is. Yeah.
I love 3.
Yeah. I was going to say that... that's funny. I was going to say that... that's what I ended up doing with Archie's wedding.
Yeah.
Archie's wedding between... what chapters were that?
15 and 16.
Is that right? Yeah, I think you're right. Yep. 15 and 16 were originally planned to all be one chapter.
Yeah.
And then it really wasn't... I didn't add or change anything about it by the time I got to the end of chapter 15. I just said, you know what, let me just end it here, actually, and then move on and do the second half as its own chapter.
Yeah.
Because I felt like a lot of the themes I built into those 2 chapters played off each other. They were intending to. You know, things that happened in 15 informed things that happened in 16. And, I mean, that's always the case when you go forward. But, like, for me, when I wrote them, they were intentionally building in the same chapter. You know what I mean? And now that I look back on it, it's interesting that I even thought of that in terms of, like, that I'm still making this decision about 20. If I want to split 20 up into 2. Because I don't think... necessarily splitting them up into 2 made them any stronger.
Yeah, I think that it's fine. It's a fine decision because it allows you to be able to focus on one specific plot point per each part.
Well, I think if that was the case, I should have written them to be 2 chapters. Does that make sense? No, see, I'm at the point now where I can do that with 20. If I make it 20 and 21, I can do that, and it'll be better for it, and that's a lesson learned. But when I got to the end of 15, and I said, you know what, I'm going to split this up. I'll just call it 2 chapters. It honestly doesn't make that much of a difference at all.
Yeah.
It won't change anything, and then it'll, for me, feel like it makes sense that this huge... I don't know, like a 150, 130 page chapter isn't one chapter. Why would it be? That's very long. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got to the end of 15 and I just ended the chapter and moved on. But I think it was confusing because that wasn't written to be a chapter end. It was written to directly feed into and inform the next pages even.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I figured in my head, like, well, all chapters feed into each other.
Yeah, they all bleed into each other.
Yeah, they all inform the next. Each moment informs the next moment, and eventually, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that way, but I think because it ended up being chapter end, it ended up being confusing. And some people were like, that's it? Like, that's it for this? And it's like, well, I mean, there's more coming.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just because it's the next chapter doesn't mean, like... But I think there was, like, a sense of finality to it that was confusing for the tone.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah. You need to clarify the tone a little more solidly to the chapter.
There definitely needs to be a more firm resolution. And it can't just be, I'll arbitrarily just call this 15 is over, 16 now begins or whatever.
Yeah.
It does actually kind of inform the way it's read, especially I think when you're presented with a page and it's like, now wait till the end of the week for the next part. Do you know what I mean? It's like kind of like, what do you mean that's it? And it's like, well, it's not it. Don't, you know what I mean? It really doesn't super matter where one, but it kind of does.
Yeah.
And that was something that was definitely something I learned from doing 15 and 16. That feedback was very surprising to me.
Yeah.
And made me think about that and reconsider it. And so I think I'm folding that lesson in now as I ponder the next time that I'm inclined to split something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. And I do see what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. I'll definitely say that I think our running into 20 needing to maybe be split up now is kind of funny because originally 20 was going to probably be 2 chapters, and because 15 and 16 were split off, we ended up making 20 be one solid chapter.
Right, that's right, yeah.
So,
because we had in our heads like about 20 chapters.
Yeah,
that felt like
we just kept trying to go for the arbitrary
right, where it was like, 15 has now become 15 and 16, so maybe the last 2 can just get pushed together.
Yeah, and we kind of mushed it together. And I think now, and you even saying that and thinking about it, I actually think probably 20 and 21 would probably be better.
I said I wasn't going to make the decision right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, because I have the benefit of knowing what is going to happen in the plot.
Right. Like I said, I'm sorry if this is frustrating for me to talk about. Yeah.
But I think when those chapters come out, that'll make more sense.
Yeah.
Because in thinking about it now with the foreknowledge of it, I agree with you that probably it should be split up. And that comes from the benefit of now looking back on 15, 16 and being like, oh yeah, those were just one chapter.
Yeah, right? It's, I think they can function just fine either way.
Yeah.
But I think I'm thinking of that lesson of like, there is some resolution in there that it's kind of interesting that it'll be the opposite problem.
Yeah.
Where 15 felt like, I didn't need this resolution here.
Yeah.
Actually, this scene did not need to end with any more finality than it already did. This scene was perfectly fine to end. It's the scene I'm talking about is Liam and Hebert in the hotel.
Yeah, their conversation.
They're having, like, Hebert's eating a piece of cake or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Liam's writing his speech. But that scene didn't need the level of finality that it ended up having to close out a chapter.
Yeah.
It might have even functioned better had it fed right into the next day.
Yeah, because very specifically the conversation was about Milo and involving Milo. For a large part of it, specifically Hebert's outcome on it.
Right.
And Hebert doesn't get the clarification on that until the end of the next chapter.
When he talks to him.
Yeah.
Exactly,
So it's like you can't have the conversation with Milo when he's not there.
Right.
And so that ended up being a little open.
Right. Yeah, people are kind of like, what, how did this, it just ends without this being fixed? And it's like, well, this is as fixed as it can get right now.
Yeah.
But the chapter ends. And it ends without finality. And I guess in my head I was like, yeah, but most chapters end without finality. Do you know what I mean? Most of the chapters are kind of like the overarching theme of the comic is like you can't solve all your problems in a day. Yeah. Sometimes like even as you have a meaningful conversation about, you know, maybe don't do this or maybe when you know, respect this boundary or, you know, this, that, or the other thing, like you still have to demonstrate understanding of that over time. Yeah. You still have to demonstrate, yes, I understood the lesson, or maybe no, I didn't 100% understand that lesson actually. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of their problems do carry over and not necessarily get fixed from chapter to chapter. But I think in that case, it was maybe too much. Too much unresolved, so.
Yeah. I mean, the fun thing about Toy is Toy has been overall a learning process for us.
Yes, absolutely.
We have learned a lot of lessons to go forward with.
And relearned.
But, you know, that's life.
Yeah. It is life, yeah. And I love Toy for how trial and error and experimental it feels sometimes. Yeah. I really do love, I love looking back on it and being like, wow, this taught me a lot. I got a lot of lessons out of this. Yeah. And it feels really good for that, so. All right, well, that's some of them. A couple of them. And pretty good food for thought, actually, for me moving forward.
Yeah, and, you know, it's a good reminder to just take a nap.
Go to bed.
Just go Get some sleep.
Go to bed.
Take a break sometime.
Yeah, I agree. Well, if you got to the end of this, thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you a lot. And, also take a nap if you need it.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Go to bed. I'm just kidding. Have a good one.
Have a good one.